auctioneering the way they do it. But when they do that, there's no actual exchange of money. The charity or nonprofit is the one who is actually handling the money and doing all the documentation. They come there, they provide the service, and then they leave. And there's a very large burden on not just paying the fees, but also the bookkeeping on that. And if you know auctioneers, a lot of them will tell you they have real estate licenses that they have to keep up with. They sometimes have auto dealership licenses and insurance and things they have to keep up with. If they deal in firearms, sometimes depending on how they handle those, they have to keep up with firearms licenses and insurance. And this is just one way that we can say, hey, we're gonna help you out, save you a little bit, since you're providing your services for charity. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. I'll just keep it short and simple. This is just a good governance bill. I think that looking at it when people are otherwise, wanting to help out, wanting to support these nonprofits or just these organizations, making sure that they're not having to pay to do that, to be able to do the good work. So this just got some red tape that's been in the system for a little bit, and allowing more people to utilize auctioneers for their events and being able for there for good causes.
Thank you both very much. Questions for our bill sponsors? Representative Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, I just want to be clear. So every time they auction, they have to get a surety bond and pay a fee, or is it once per year that they have to get that?
Minority Leader Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Smith, for the question. So if they're doing it, I think under current Colorado law, if they're doing it on behalf of a nonprofit or charity, that's where the paid solicitor definition applies to them. If they're doing it for profit, like for an actual company, then I think that's separate from what this bill is actually doing. There's probably a different process for that. So this is just specifically for charities or nonprofits.
Representative Smith.
Okay, but let's say that they do this for a nonprofit twice a year. Would they have to go through the surety and the fee each time, or is it just once per year?
Minority Leader Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand the question now. So it is not. So when they do the $15,000 surety bond, it's an annual. They pay for it one time. The registration fee is annual as well. And I hope that clarifies it.
Thank you. Yes.
Other questions from our committee or bill sponsors? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead to witness testimony. I have two people signed up to testify, and they are both remote. I will call up Mr. Rich Schuer and Mr. David Cardella. Oh, you're in person. That's even better.
I got out of my meeting early.
Okay, great. Well, join us at the table. That's perfect. In fact, we're going to let you go first because you're here in person. If you'll have to look at the plug where it plugs into the table, there's a little gray button. Press that. Introduce yourself. Tell us who you represent, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is David Cardella. I am the CEO for the Colorado Independent Automobile Dealers Association, and also the CEO for the United Used Car Dealers Charity Fund of Colorado. We have used, and I'm here in support of them, we have used auctioneers for the last 13 years in order to raise money to help people across the state of Colorado with scholarships, who have had situations, dire situations with children. We've helped people with PTSD, abused teenagers, a number of different charities. We just had our event last November where we raised $379,000 and $106,000 strictly for one hand fundraiser that helps families with terminally ill children. auctioneers play an important role in our ability to raise money. This burden of the cost on them it might seem minimal, that it's only one time a year, but it is an additional cost. And as our bill sponsor said, they don't touch the money. Our charity presents the items of what they want, of what we want sold, or what's been donated to our organization to sell to raise the money, and we handle all the money. When it comes to just the panel raiser, where there's nothing exchanged as far as goods, just people donating money out of the goodness of the heart, which is how we raised $106,000 from our industry members. A minimal amount we try to pay the auctioneers, they turn around and donate it back to us. So it's very seldom they even take a fee with this when they're doing charitable. They're very kind-hearted people. I would just ask you to support this bill, and that's why I'm here today, to lend our support for the great work the auctioneer industry does. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We'll go to Mr. Schurer online. Go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us who you represent. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Rich Schurer. I'm the owner of the Schurer Success Auction Group in Monument. I'm also a past president representing the Colorado Auctioneers Association. We are wholeheartedly in support of this bill, and quite frankly, the financial burden is not great, but it's unnecessary. All of the charities that we work for doing auctions, whether we volunteer our time or get compensated, all of these organizations also have to have that solicitor license. They have to file the reports. They're handling the money they take into cash. As auctioneers, we don't see the money. We're simply performing a quick service, and we're in and out. The trouble with this bill is twofold. Number one, it's quite a burden to obtain a bond and pay the fee to do it, even though it's once annually. That's just a small part of the burden. The second part of the burden is for every event we do, we have to file a report pre-event telling the state that we're going to do it, and then once the event's taken place, we have to file a follow-up report with all of the financial information. Well, the charity is already doing that. Quite frankly, I have no idea how much money is brought in during an event because we simply do a small portion of it. If the intent of this act and this law was to protect the organizations, or more so the people donating to them, that's already covered when the organizations themselves have that bond and have the license and go through all the motions. As auctioneers, it's redundant, it really doesn't accomplish anything, and frankly, it's quite a barrier for those of us who are doing volunteer work. It's just not worth the headache to go through all these steps to be able to show up for a Boy Scout troop for an hour and call some bids and sell some cakes, and then have to post a bond and jump through all the hoops in order to do it. And failing to file a report is a misdemeanor offense. So the actual bill as it stands puts a huge burden on auctioneers, and it doesn't do anything for the public, for the taxpayers, or protect the people who are donating. I am in full support of this bill, 100%, and I have the backing and the support of the Colorado Auctioneers Association. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony today. Committee, any questions for either one of these witnesses? Oh, sorry, Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No need to apologize. You did see me. So I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name at the table.
David Cardella.
Cardella.
Yeah.
Mr. Cardella, and also Mr. Shore. I think either one or both, feel free to answer, but are we trying to eliminate the need to acquire a bond for auctioneers in general, or just for when they're doing nonprofit charity type auctioneering?
David, if I may, I'll answer that.
Go ahead, Mr. Schurer.
Colorado state law does not require auctioneers to be licensed or bonded except in certain circumstances. The bankruptcy report requires us to be bonded. certain municipalities require us to be bonded to do our jobs, but the state itself does not. The bond for us doesn't really accomplish anything. The organization themselves also have to be registered and carry the bond. It's simply redundant. So this bill only applies for the nonprofits, for charitable fundraising events, and that is it.
Any further questions? All right, I'm not seeing any further questions, so thank you both for your testimony today. Is there anyone else in the room that wanted to testify on House Bill 1025 that I didn't have your name? All right, seeing none, that ends the witness testimony phase, and we're on to see if there are any amendments on the bill. Representative Martinez.
Yes. Yes, we have one amendment that will get out.
All right, if you can give those to Ms. Kelly, we'll get those passed out. Meanwhile, you can tell us about the amendment. Representative Martinez.
I move amendment L1, House Bill 1025.
Would someone like to second that? I'll second it. All right, Representative Martinez, if you could tell us about L1.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. So this is just to make sure that we're fitting within statute of what we're actually talking about. So it strikes monetary donations and it just substitutes contributions, and that reads or falls in line with current statute.
Any questions on L001? Any objection to L001? All right, seeing none, L001 is adopted. Any further amendments? Committee, any amendments? All right, that is the amendment phase, and we're to the wrap-up phase. Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I'll keep it short and simple. I think that this just, I guess I wanted to address your point, Representative Story. This is only pertaining just to nonprofits. The intent is not for anything for-profit. If those are for-profit, we are not touching those. If it is a for-profit event, then they should have what's currently on the books with this. So this is only addressing just the nonprofit charitable work that they're doing for those other different organizations. Again, I will just keep it short and simple. I think that this is just a red tape cutting measure. If they're otherwise, again, for nonprofit work, if they're contributing their time and their effort to helping out other nonprofits throughout the state, they shouldn't have to go through an additional hoop and a barrier. This should hopefully clear that up and again allow more nonprofits to utilize auctioneers if they choose to do so. Will you turn that vote?
Minority Leader Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and also Representative Story, to your point, because this bill falls under the definition of paid solicitor specifically about the doing work for nonprofits. So that's why I had the same question originally about that. But yes, I appreciate everyone here. Mr. David reminded me of a story. I had called an auctioneer when I was looking at this legislation. And had asked him, his opinion on it, and he's been doing it for, I believe, 40 or 50 years now. And he told me stories that, twice a year he comes over to Denver. He has a family member, I believe it's a granddaughter, who has a rare disease, and they host an event where they raise like $150,000 for this rare disease that one of his family members has. And he said, it actually costs me money. It costs me to drive from the Western Slope to come there and stay the night and do this event, and I don't charge a penny for it. So, I think that's a common theme that you'll hear with our auctioneers is they're doing this out of the goodness of their heart to help. But like I believe one of the examples given were the Boy Scouts, and so as my colleague here said, it is cutting some red tape to help those who help us, and so I appreciate you guys voting on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Before I entertain any other comments, Representative Martinez, would you like to move the bill as amended to the Committee of the Whole?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 26-1025 as amended to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation.
Seconded by, I'm not sure who seconded it. Representative Garcia Sander. All right, Any closing comments from committee? All right, I just want to thank you both and the witnesses for detailing the explanation, because it did answer some questions I already had in my head about the holding of the money. So thank you for that. And we're ready to call the roll. Ms. Kelly.
Representatives
What
Garcia,
about
Sam.
comments from the board?
I asked for comments and nobody raised their hand. Representative Supla?
Sorry, I missed that. Well, I would just like to say, as the co-owner of Altitude Auction, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I have been compensated. So when I do Soups of the World, they give me a bowl of soup. And when I do something for somebody in a terrible accident or with a terrible disease, they usually do the chili supper, and they pay me with a bowl of chili. And one thing that I did for over 20 years is the cattle auction for the 4-H and in Cortez, and they always give me $50 worth of Cortez cash, but by the time I get it in the mail, it's already expired. So it's a good service. We do it out of the kind. It's a way for auctioneers to get back, and it's an unnecessary bill, and I'm 100% for this bill that's coming right now.
Thank you. No, you're fine. And I had a suggestion earlier from someone I won't name that Representative Supla should give all of his comments in the auctioneer style so that we can get to
It'll right now, so it'll be on to you.
Thank you. All right, any further comments? All right, Ms. Kelly, please call the roll.
Representatives Garcia, Sander.
Yes.
Goldstein.
Yes.
Johnson.
Pass.
Lindsay.
Yes.
Lukens.
Yes.
Martinez.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Story.
Yes.
Sukla.
Yes.
Winter.
Yes.
Morrow.
Excused.
Johnson.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes. And that passes 12-0 with one excused. And you're on your way to the committee of the whole. Next on our agenda is House Bill 1031 with Representative Soper and Representative Martinez. All right, we have our bill sponsors, and whoever's going to go first, please just let me know. Representative Soper.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee. I just learned that we actually had complimentary fact sheets, but I wasn't, mine wasn't color. But it's the same information. One problem that's come up over the last number of years here in Colorado has been counterfeit fruits and vegetables coming into our state. And the fact pattern is this: usually about April, you'll start seeing what may look like peaches, and there'll be a display around it that talks about locally grown, Colorado Proud logo up there, boxes of different producers that are well known in the peach market. Only for those of you who know anything about Colorado's peach season, April's way too early. That's definitely an easy scenario to be able to point out that it's impossible for that to be a Colorado grown peach. The frustration here is that there may be some individuals who are eager to get into the marketplace early and to be able to get a premium on those peaches, but it's a deceptive trade practice to do so. It's definitely taking advantage of the fact that Coloradans, we're willing to spend more for local produce. We go out of our way to support our local farmers, but then when someone takes advantage of who we are as Coloradans and charges more and sells us a counterfeit product, we're very disappointed by that, and it certainly angers us. So the solution is House Bill 1031. This was a bill that came out of the interim
Water Resources and Agriculture Review Committee. We looked at it there over the summer and how it impacts a lot of our famous agricultural products here in Colorado. And really it's adding to our consumer protection laws the same elements that already exist in federal law under the Federal Perishable Agricultural Commodities Act of 1930. However, the difference there is to be able to have an actionable claim, you'd have to have over $230,000 worth of damages. That's not going to be the case in Colorado at all for the Attorney General or a district attorney to be able to take any sort of action to tell that person to either label where the produce actually came from or put no label on it if it's not from Colorado, but don't go out of your way to say it's Colorado grown when in fact it's not.
Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. So this comes out of our year-long committee this summer, and this got brought up with a number of issues in regards to just really how are we not only doing right by our citizens, but also doing right by those who are selling the produce. And I think again, highlighting what my good co-prime here is saying is that when you're going down the road and you see a roadside stand, a farmer's market where you see Palisade peaches, Pueblo Chile, everything like that, you want to hope and trust that is where you're getting it from. And again, like when you may not know when the season may be, or that or where it's being shipped from, you want to make sure that we're giving the added protection for those, because again, I 100% agree with my co-prime here is that I think people generally will be willing to pay more for products that they know are grown here in the state, and this gives them that additive reassurance, and then also making sure that we're cutting down on people that are buying it not in season or out of state and bringing it in and trying to profit off of that. So we urge in my vote.
Thank you both. Do we have questions for our bill sponsors? Representative Goldstein.
I like this. I was at a Cattlemen's Association reception, and they were talking about the same problem with beef. So maybe that's the next bill after this.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I like this bill too. I'm just wondering why Metro Water Recovery would want an amendment? You don't have one?
No.
That does not have to do anything with agriculture, so.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know about my co-prime sponsor, but I've actually not heard from them, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe they added an amendment in there, because I don't see the nexus, and I feel like if you wanted an amendment, you would have actually reached out to one of the sponsors.
Further questions for our bill sponsors? I just want to, for the record, the question I have is that the accountability for any violation in this act would be complaint driven. Somebody would have to witness what they thought was a consumer, not protection, but they would have to report it to the AG's office in order for anything to be done about it, correct? Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that's correct. So one thing that you may notice in here is that there's not a private right of action. And that's because we didn't want a scenario where this is very difficult to prove, certainly if there's no labelings. We didn't want to pit one producer against another. We wanted to force a consumer to actually have to make a complaint to the Attorney General or a district attorney. They would need to then investigate. And more likely than not, if they found that they were engaged in a deceptive trade practice, it would be a cease and desist order first. And then after that, then they would get into actually bringing that person before the courts for deceptive trade practice. But it was something that we thought about very carefully. We didn't just want to drag someone into the courts. We didn't want to pit neighbor against neighbor, because we all know how agriculture works. They might just go to battle against each other, and that's not what we wanted. We actually wanted to stop what we saw as counterfeit fruits and vegetables in Colorado.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other questions, I'll move on to the witness testimony phase. I have 5 people signed up, 2 in person and 3 remotely. So we'll pull you all up at once. I have Mr. Chris Bork in an amend position remotely, and then Madeline Robertson, Diana Orr, Hannah Goodman, and Jessica Burford, all in support. If you're in the room, come on forward. And we'll start with our in-person people first. So I'll start with you, Madeline. If you'll turn your mic on, introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Madeline Robertson again, and I am the Director of State Government Relations for Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. We represent family farmers and ranchers through our grassroots policy process. Rocky Mountain Farmers Union supports House Bill 1031, and we'd like to thank the sponsors for bringing this bill. This bill addresses a critical issue facing Colorado farmers, the fraudulent marketing of out-of-state produce as locally grown. In our state, Colorado Proud has significant meaning for consumers and agricultural producers. It is extremely important that consumers can trust the origin of the foods that they consume and protect our producers from economic harm. It is also extremely imperative that we preserve the reputation of Colorado's renowned agricultural regions. This legislation codifies that the designation is trustable and represents a critical step in maintaining the integrity of Colorado's agricultural marketplace and supporting our local farming community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Orr.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Diana Orr. I'm here representing Associated Governments of Northwest Colorado. Those are the counties of Mesa, Moffett, Rio Blanco, Garfield, and our associate members, Montrose, Delta, and Grand counties. Our economy is focused primarily on agriculture, energy, and hunting and fishing. The agricultural portion is tremendously important because, as you know, Colorado has always had sort of an aura of magic about it. Songs have been written about it, and there are certain products associated with the state, such as Palisade peaches, Olathe sweet corn. The Delta area grows apples. There are certain things that if you see Colorado Proud on that box, you want to make sure it is from Colorado. I encountered a lady at the grocery store last year that looked at peaches and said, "Are these really Colorado peaches? Are they really from Palisade?" And I said, "Look at the box, that they shipped them in." I myself have inquired of people at farmers markets, where did these come from? And felt fairly confident when the person said they're out of my farm. So, because that is so important, and because we believe that their reputation is well earned, that it is certainly well deserved, we want to make sure that there aren't any counterfeit products playing off of the reputation that Colorado has built, and therefore we ask you to support this bill.
Thank you very much. I'll go online to Hannah Goodman. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Hannah Goodman. I'm a 6th-generation Coloradan from Phillips County, Colorado, on the Eastern Plains. My family has been growing corn, field corn, sweet corn, and yes, popcorn, right here in Colorado for generations. One of the people who helped shape that legacy was my grandpa, Elwin Poe, known around northeastern Colorado as the Popcorn Man. My grandpa Poe was a dedicated corn grower who specialized in popcorn while also raising other corn varieties. He poured his heart into his quality kernels that popped perfectly every time, and he became a voice for Colorado farmers far beyond his own fields. He served on the National Corn Growers Association as secretary and helped found the Colorado Corn Growers Association and served as president, fighting for fair markets, research funding, and policies that let family operations like ours thrive. Elwin understood that when farmers succeed, rural communities succeed. That's exactly why I'm here today to strongly support this bill. The bipartisan legislation does something simple but powerful. It says if you label something Colorado grown or use the Colorado Proud logo, it actually has to come from Colorado soil. If it doesn't, it's deceptive, and it's a deceptive trade practice. No more out-of-state companies slapping their name on imported corn or popcorn and undercutting honest work of farming families. I think about my grandpa Poe every time I see a popcorn bag at the store. And in fact, the label that he sold had the Colorado Proud on it. He didn't just grow a crop, He built pride in Colorado agriculture. My kids, who are 7th generation Coloradans, are doing the same today. They help harvest corn. They work at the same grain elevators that export our grain harvest worldwide, and they dream of keeping the farm going. This bill protects that legacy and ensures Colorado grown means real roots in our fields, not marketing tricks from somewhere else. It levels the playing field so family operations can get credit and the price that we deserve. As Dem Farm Labor Style Democrat raised on values of fairness, hard work, and rural strength, this bill feels like common sense, and it honors pioneers like Ellen Poe and gives the next generation, like my children, a fair shot to carry on what we've built. So I really strongly urge you to pass this bill and make sure Colorado Grown stays honest for the sake of every family, that farm that feeds this state. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And next up is Jessica Burford. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Tell us who you represent. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Jessica Burford, and I am the president and CEO of the Palisade Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of House Bill 261031. The Palisade Chamber represents a rural agriculture-rooted community on Colorado's western slope. Our local economy, identity, and reputation are tied to specially cut crops, particularly Palisade peaches, which have been grown in our region for more than 100 years and are recognized worldwide for their quality. Over the past several years, the Chamber has surveyed area peach growers and vineyard owners, representing both large and small production operations. One concern has been raised consistently: the deceptive practice of selling out-of-state produce as Colorado grown, and in particular, using the Palisade name when that product was not grown in Palisade or even in Colorado. These practices are not just misleading to consumers, they directly harm legitimate Colorado growers who rely on the integrity of our agriculture brands to earn a fair price for their product. When counterfeit or misrepresented produce enters the marketplace, it erodes consumer trust, weakens brand value, and undermines the significant investment growers make in quality, land stewardship, and compliance with Colorado regulations. House Bill 1031 provides a common sense solution. It establishes straightforward protections that ensure agricultural products marketed as Colorado grown are in fact grown in Colorado, and that the Colorado Proud designation is used only as authorized. This bill protects consumers, promotes fairness in the marketplace, and supports the long-term viability of Colorado agriculture without placing undue burden on honest producers. For communities like Palisade, this issue is about more than labeling. Agriculture supports jobs, agritourism, small business, and multi-generation family farms. Protecting the authenticity of Colorado's iconic agriculture products is essential to sustaining rural economies and preserving the heritage that makes these regions so unique. On behalf of the Palisade Chamber of Commerce and the growers we serve, I respectfully urge the committee to support House Bill 1031. Thank you for your time and your commitment to our Colorado agriculture.
Thank you for your testimony. And next up is Chris Bork. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair and representatives, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chris Borky, and I am the member of Boulder County Honey Producers and the founder of Boulder Valley Honey. We manage several hundred beehives throughout Boulder County for the purposes of producing honey, as well as for disease research on behalf of the universities of Colorado and Colorado State. I am in favor of Bill HB 26-1031 and request for it to be amended to include honey and beeswax as agricultural products as defined in sections 35-1-122. As beekeepers, we are often not considered in policy due to being few in number, especially in Colorado. Despite our small numbers, each of our beehives pollinates up to 6 miles away, an area over 70,000 acres, incidental in producing honey on the Colorado Front Range. It is known in our small industry that there are several purveyors of honey in Colorado that are buying and reselling honey as though it had been produced in the state when it has in fact not been. These honey brokers have stores and market tents across the state, at farmers markets, and even at Denver International Airport, where they mislead consumers of the origin of their honey for sale. At market, not only are we directly competing with lower quality honey produced outside of Colorado and marketed as though it were local, but we are competing for these farmers market vendor positions and often turned away during application from these farmers markets due to saturation. This is not solely a problem in Colorado. In 2023, an audit of honey in the European Union found that 46% of sampled honey was suspected of fraudulent, adulterated, or otherwise cut in nature. I rather suspect that a similar investigation into honey in Colorado would find the same. I am in full support of this bill and would kindly request that the bill be amended to include Colorado honey produced and beeswax as protected agricultural products. I am happy to answer any additional questions to this effect. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Committee, do we have any questions for any of these witnesses? Representative Sukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I really like the bill, but I do have a question. I have a farmer that has a continuous farm, and half of it is in Colorado and half of it is in Utah. So how would that work for this bill? Would only half of it be labeled Colorado and then the other half, if it's all one continuous farm? Or is it? That's my question.
Thank you for your question. Was that a question for the bill sponsors or for one of these witnesses?
Whoever can answer it.
Or do any of the witnesses feel like they can answer that question at this time? I don't see any hands up. So, okay, great. Mr. Borky.
Yeah, so we have a unique pollination industry with our Colorado honeybees, where we bring our honeybees across state lines to California during the spring when we're covered in snow here. And they do produce honey. Typically, we're feeding and adulterating anything that would be considered honey in California in the interest of building up bees. I firmly believe that anything that were produced in California and brought across state lines should not be considered Colorado honey in any capacity.
Any other question from the committee for any of these witnesses? Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To anyone that can answer, because I've been speaking with some of my sugar beet growers, and while the sugar beets, the sugar are produced in Colorado, the bagging is not, so it's not a Colorado proud. So when we're talking about Colorado product, are we saying that it has to be grown in the soil, but it's okay to be wrapped or bagged in another state? I'm just curious if that's come up in any discussions as we look at that. I'm talking more about the Western Sugar Plant in Morgan. All of it's grown in Morgan. They bag it in Nebraska and it comes right back to Colorado. I just didn't know if that applies to, I don't think honey is being bottled somewhere, but I don't know if other products see any kind of bagging distribution that's different like that.
Again, if any witnesses feel prepared to answer that question, let me know. If not, I'm sure that the bill sponsors are taking notes furiously on these questions. Any other questions from the committee? All right, well, thank you all for showing up to testify on this bill today. We do appreciate your time. Is there anyone else in the room that wanted to testify on House Bill 1031 that didn't sign up? Please come forward and go ahead with your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chairs and members of the committee. Apologies for not signing up correctly. It looks like I had some technical issues with that this morning. If you remember way back to just about 20 minutes ago, I'm Brandon Melnikoff with the Colorado Farm Bureau, here testifying on their behalf today. We certainly support the strengthened trade protections that this bill brings forward for both our agriculture producers and those who purchase our great Colorado products. When Coloradans purchase fruits or vegetables at a farmer's market or a roadside farm stand, they deserve to know that what they are buying is truly a Colorado product or not. Whether it's Palisade peaches, a Rocky Ford melon, or even a San Luis potato, consumers want to buy local, as they know that it not only supports our state's farmers and ranchers, but that Colorado products are the best produce in the nation. Additionally, our farmers deserve a fair marketplace. This bill levels that playing field for those who historically had to market their products against out-of-state products that leverage the good name of Colorado or that regional brand, while often being cheaper and out of season, as the bill sponsor spoke to. Furthermore, the Colorado program has always been trusted by Coloradans across the state. This bill strengthens that designation and empowers the Department of Agriculture to build upon the already successful initiative. We thank the bill sponsors for bringing this bill forward, and we ask for a yes vote on this bill.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Melnikoff from committee? All right, seeing none, thank you for your time today. Anyone else in the room or online that I didn't call? All right, that ends the witness phase of our hearing, and we are back to the bill Are there any amendments for this bill at this time? Bill sponsors. Representative Soper.
We have no amendments.
Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We were talking about a conceptual amendment around if you did get found with counterfeit Chile from the inferior Chile down south, that you had to eat a bushel of that Chile. But as we didn't have time to get that prepared, we will not be bringing that today.
Thank you, Representative Martinez, and you heard my ruling on conceptual amendments earlier this session, so appreciate that. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were a couple of questions that came up and wondered if it'd be possible to answer those.
Yes, Representative Soper, if you have some answers for our committee members, this would be the time.
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Sikla, just to answer your question about farm that grows a product between Colorado and Utah and it straddles the state line, you're always subject to the laws of the jurisdiction in which you're in. That being said, it really is a labeling. So let's say it's potatoes and you're mixing potatoes, you would say it's a product of Colorado and Utah, or you would just say, from the Rocky Mountain region. If you're specifically saying that every single potato is Colorado grown when you know that half your field was in Utah, that would certainly violate what's laid out here. Representative Johnson, to answer your question, it only concerns fresh, perishable produce. So if you look on page 3, it must be a plant, fruit, vegetable, or fungus that's in a raw and unprocessed state. So something that's going across state lines, you could actually take this, like let's say it is potatoes, from the San Luis Valley into New Mexico. They could be bagged there and then shipped to market. That doesn't change anything with where it was grown. It was always a Colorado potato. It just so happened it may have been bagged in another state. So that certainly would not go against what is labeled here. And sugar is processed, so it would not be part of the bill.
We're not to a question phase right now, Representative Smith. So we're to now the wrap-up stage, right? We did amendments. Oh, did I ask the committee if they had any amendments? I didn't. I don't see any amendments. Do you have an amendment? You certainly can, but we cannot vote or discuss that today. If you'd like to say what you want to say, I'm going to let you say it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm still somewhat new to all this. I am just wondering, since the gentleman is from my county, the beekeeper, would you consider an amendment to expand what you have in your bill to beekeeping, honey, and beeswax?
Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Smith, for the question. Because the beekeeping industry is very nuanced, and because of the raw and processed product, we would need to explore how that would look, because I think that as it states currently, to my knowledge on the beekeeping industry, honey industry, I don't know if that necessarily fits in under how we have it written. So we'd have to look. So I can't commit one way or another until I look at it.
All right, Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to also weigh in on that, I will say, as the son of a beekeeper, that it's hard not to have honey included. But I will say, honey and bees are very difficult, and I know that right now, even our state property tax administrator has been looking at where bees and hives and wax sit in terms of, is it a raw agricultural product or is it a processed agricultural product? And this is probably one of the areas of agriculture that's been very, very difficult, even for very smart people to figure out. And that's even been a challenge for us as we've maneuvered this, because we did not want to get into the process side at all.
All right, now we're to the phase where you all can wrap up your comments and then move the bill. Any further comments from either one of you? Representative Martinez.
Just short and simple, I think that this protects both the agriculture industry in the state of Colorado. It protects the consumer, and it makes sure that we're promoting even more so now Colorado products that are grown here, and recommending the sale, and making sure that we're cutting back on counterfeit products that are coming into the state, and really pushing our consumers more towards Colorado grown products, which is a good thing. So we urge a vote.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, and thank you for listening. I'll make this real brief. I think one of our witnesses said it best, Hannah Goodman, when she said, this bill ensures that Colorado grown means grown in Colorado soil. And that's very much true, that this protects both consumers and the farmers here in Colorado, that for farmers, that the marketplace is not being watered down with produce being labeled as Colorado grown when it's in fact not, but it also protects consumers to ensure that when you see the Colorado Proud label, or when you see a fruit stand, that it actually has some meaning, that it really does mean that it's grown in Colorado, and that it has some modicum of protection that it's guaranteeing the consumer.
Representative Martinez.
I move House Bill 261031
Committee of the Whole.
to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Second. Seconded by Representative Johnson. All right, now, committee, any comments that you would like to share with us? Just want to make sure I give everybody a chance. All right, seeing none, Ms. Kelly, please call the roll.
Representatives Garcia Sander,
Yes.
Goldstein,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Lukens,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Story,
Yes.
Sukla,
Yes.
Winter,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes, and that passes 13-0. You're on your way to the committee of the whole. Before we adjourn, I just want to remind the committee that I sent out a chair memo for our committee work this year. I know we've been here a few times already, but want to make sure that you take a look at that. Make sure that you show up to committee on time, please, at 1:30. I heard from discussion, I guess, in the greater General Assembly that we are allowed to fine people if they're late, so I kind of like that. So be prompt, please. Also, with consideration of amendments, as we discussed, it is difficult for other committee members to really be able to vote on a conceptual amendment without being able to see it in front of them. So if you want to consider an amendment after committee to come on second readings, that would be the place for your conceptual amendment to be turned into an actual amendment. And then make sure that when we have people testifying online, that we give them our full attention as much as possible, because they deserve that, and we deserve to listen to them. They've bothered to take time out of their day to come before us, and I just want to make sure that we stay respectful. I'm not saying that anybody hasn't, but I'm just setting the stage so that we make sure that we're respectful to people that come to testify. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.